Well, welcome back, folks.
We're here.
We are here with Joyce Overton, City Council member from the City of Clear Lake and current candidate for supervisor for District 2 in Clear Lake. Correct?
Correct. Thank you for having me on the air. I appreciate it.
Excellent.
Our
Thank you for
pleasure.
coming in.
Yeah.
This is going to be a hard interview for me.
Why? You have the hard questions.
I like you.
Well, that's okay.
I know you.
I like even the people who ask me the hard questions or
Well.
that may have controversy. I still think that there's always a way to
you never
bring
shy
things
away from
together.
that,
No, I never shy away from problems.
No, I know that. And I got some nice questions for you. That's okay. So you want me to start off, my dear?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm going to have the most simplistic question I could possibly ask you.
Why am I running for supervisor?
Yeah. Exactly. Why?
Because I feel that our district needs better representation at the state and federal level. I don't think and I think that's, I'm not just saying our district. There's a few districts that need some better representation. So my thought is to be more open to the community. I plan on having an actual office in Clear Lake so that the people can, won't be there every day, but I'll try to be there as much as possible, available to the public. I will return calls and I will return emails, and I will continue my work just as I have as a city council member, working hard for our community at a state and federal level. I think there's things there that we need to be meeting with these representatives on a regular basis, and that's not happening for our district.
From my personal experience, and this is your interview, not mine, but I have emailed many of the supervisors on the board, and there's only all the time, both for personally and as for other reasons, which I'm not allowed to mention on the air. Only one individual responds to me all the time. And I won't.
Me too.
Yeah, and
I agree. I probably getting the same response from the same person.
Yeah,
and
we
don't
won't
get the
say her
response.
name.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And I think that's not nice.
we're not nice people sometimes.
Behave, you guys. Behave.
Oh no, you don't know our show? That's
Yes,
what
no,
we're
I know
all
your
about.
I know your show. That's that's like I'm kind of going the
Yeah. Okay.
let me especially when you said he was going to come after me. I was like, oh, bring it on, bring it
No,
on.
but seriously,
bring it on. That is that's.
I actually got a response from, since we mentioned it, Denise yesterday, and she'd been gone, she's been traveling, and she said, I finally found your email after the millions of emails I had, and I apologize for the delay, and here's the response. And I'm like, gee, thank you.
You know what? And that is a problem because I don't think people realize how many emails that we get.
Okay.
I probably get it, and I have definitely lost an email here or there or a phone call that, I'm not saying I'm perfect by no means, but what I try to tell people is if I don't respond, something's wrong. Call me again, email me again, hunt me down, because it's not that I would never respond, even if it's a controversial issue.
And sometimes it has to boil down to just seeing you in the parking lot in front of the grocery store.
There you go. That happens all the time. In fact, there's sometimes where I think, oh, I should come here more often because, you see people at certain places, and it's like over and over. And once you get started, that, 10-minute stopped at the grocery store has become several hours. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I think that is what our representatives should be doing, is being out there for the people. So, no offense, they make enough money. I'm always shocked at the supervisor's pay for Lake County.
For the little amount of time they spend.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my plan for that is, putting a percentage of my wages towards things that are important in our community, in our district, and that is the youth center and the animal coalition. You don't ever see it, you don't miss it. And since I've never made that kind of money in my life, I don't think I'm going to miss, giving a percentage back to our community. Right. And also hiring somebody to make sure that there is somebody to help me, with issues that need research.
That's a good idea.
Stuff like that.
I need a job.
Because you don't have a time. If you're doing your job, it's really hard to do all the research that needs to be done. And I found that just with city council. And being the district is basically our city, like city council is. mean, it is going to take, you're going to need some help on these things.
Are you saying you're actually going to hire an assistant part-time to help answer some of the communications?
Absolutely.
Cool.
That's my plan. I plan on having an office there in Clear Lake and putting some of this money that they're paying for the supervisors back into the community. You know, I mean, I think that's something that's essential for us to have, is that contact. If you don't have the contact with the people that you're representing, then how do you know how to do your job?
Right.
You know, I mean, just how do you know if you're not out there talking? I love to do things like yard sales and stuff, and you know why? People are so open when they you go or walking. This is my favorite thing about campaigning. Is I don't like the signs, I don't like the political part of the campaigning, but I love the talking to the people. That's my favorite part, and getting their input. And you know, sometimes it's not always for me, but at least it gives me the opportunity to explain why I did something that I did. So that contact.
Even though there's a lot of reasons to disagree with what I'm about to say, I actually do believe in term limits. Because sometimes you're just in there too long, where you lose touch with reality of the citizens, and you just go through your motions. You're not really paying attention to what you're paying attention supposed to.
You know what? I definitely agree. I think what happens is that you get too cushiony in your seat. You know, the term limits I don't agree on is the congressman. 2 years. In other words, they work 1 year and they campaign 1 year. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not enough
They
time.
are not doing their job. They are not, able to do their job because they're too worried about what they're going to have to do next year to get back in to get that big money. And I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And the reality is 2 years. That's just ridiculous. They should be 4-year terms. I think everything should be 4-year terms. I do believe that 12 years should be your limit. 4 years for learning, because no offense, I mean, I'm a new supervisor.
A lot to learn.
Supervisors is going to be a different situation than council. You know, when I first got on council, I went to a lot of trainings that I paid for myself. I've spent about $60,000 of my own money training myself as a council member, going to district meetings, going to conferences, going to special meetings. I was lucky enough to do an interview and got to sit on the League of Cities board at the state, which is a big thing. I mean, that helped us out. I found out that there was money coming down the line that the cities could apply for roads. This is how we got our road tax. But it had to be project ready. Well, we didn't actually have projects ready to go on roads because we had no money. But, it was good that I could walk out of that meeting, make a phone call to our engineer and said, this is what's going to come down the line. Can we be prepared for this? And he said, I'll be ready. We were the first ones to apply for that money out of the state of California, our little city, Clear Lake. And it's because they had a representative sitting at the state level.
Right.
We need that. I don't hear these guys going to the league of the county league. There's a county league just like there is a city league. I never hear that they're going to them. I never hear a report on that. That tells us all the information that's coming through the Senate and the Assemblyman and the Congress. Those are very important meetings that we should be going to.
It's funny. My wife and I sat down with Matt and Alan.
Flora. Matt Perry and
Matt, I apologize. I always forget your last name.
Yeah, Perry.
And we were on another subject, but I was talking about, why don't you all have a 5-year plan? And he was very honest. He said, government accounting is totally different than private enterprise. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've never had a government job, so I don't know. But he said, we don't know from 1 year to another what the blankety blank the state is going to do with our revenues.
And that is so true. That's one thing is, at the time I got on city council, I had been working for a corporate accounting. Okay. And it is definitely different on how the money is funded, because, we didn't have tax money that we might get through the year and can even estimate it into our budget, where the cities and the counties do. And that is all estimated. Sometimes it ends up being high, which is our hope. But lately it's been even lower than when we anticipate. Then it's even lower. And like right now, our HUDA tax is even going to be less. Our public works guy anticipates $80,000 less to our city. For our city, that is horrendous.
That's a lot
For
of
the county, they're estimating probably about $450,000 less. That's devastating to our little area here. Right. I mean, people got to realize 60,000 people in the whole county. That's smaller than most cities anymore. You know, we're not that big of an area. We're a rural area, but yet we have to follow the same situations as LA, who has a tremendous amount, or Sacramento or San Francisco. I would fight for the small towns, which is what I represented on the League of Cities, was the small cities of California. And I fought for us to have changes to not have to be the same requirements. And that, unfortunately, I did have to get off that board just for personal reasons. But I would definitely start fighting that again, because I think we need to be designated as rural areas need to be different than the cities.
Right.
You know.
In fact, I'm sure you know, with your busy life, you didn't probably hear our show last week, but Obama, in his 2015 budget proposal to the House and the Senate, is basically stealing funds from local jurisdictions, i.e. the county, on the geothermal energy. And what he's doing is saying all the revenues are being generated through the royalties, the leases, are going to go directly to the federal government, and none, zero, nada, to the county. What would...
Well, somebody better be in Washington, D.C. fighting this for us, because, I mean, this is real detrimental to our county. I mean, that would be devastating, just totally devastating to us. You know, they keep taking, the state, the federal, keep taking a little bit of everything, and pretty soon, how are we going to survive? And this is where, and it's unfortunate, and I know people hate taxes, but we have to really start looking at becoming self-sufficient cities and cities and counties. And it is unfortunate that it is by taxes. And none of us want to pay more taxes. I know I don't, you don't, I don't think any of us do. But the reality is a 1% tax, I don't think people realize how little that is per their household if they're not buying these boats and cars. And I realize that would be more taxes for those particular people. But for the everyday person like me and you, who are basically poverty level, I mean, you know, that's like $15, $20 a year more, you know.
I agree with you in principle. The problem is, it's 1% here, 0.5% here, and all of a sudden we're going to be over 10% sales tax. So it's no longer just a couple of cents here. It's 10% of everything you purchase that's applicable to sales tax.
Right.
And that's getting ridiculous. Why can't we be more productive?
Proactive.
Why can't we be cross-training and utilizing
funds,
staff
yeah.
and our purchasing power
Saving
better?
money. There's a lot of wasted money within the city that needs to be dealt with.
This is one of my things is that the counties and the cities, both cities in our districts here, need to be working together as far as, I mean, I think we should be working together with employees. I mean, you don't always need a planner. You don't always need an engineer. We have two cities and a county, you know, that we have to have engineers. Can we share them? Yeah. Can we share, you know, a planning person? Can we share equipment? You know, can we share these things? I mean, you may need a dump truck, but do you need a dump truck every day?
Thank you.
You know, why can't we schedule these things in and work together? Now, when our new administrator, Joan, came on, one of the things that she asked me is, what do you want me to do? The first thing I said is our finances. You know, I think our, you know,
but I don't
our
think she's helped the finances at all.
Let's stay on track here on the interview.
Yeah, but I disagree with you on that one, because we have had, you know, and it's not Joan that does the finances. We've had finance people that have come in that specifically have certain areas that they specialize in, and they took care of that, and then the next one would come in and take care of their specialty. You know, for the first time since I can see Clear Lake's being Clear Lake, is that we actually know where our money stands for a change.
Well, that's nice.
I have never felt that way sitting on city council when I have one administrator telling me, oh, we got money, and the next administrator saying, well, we're going to have to close the doors tomorrow because we don't have the money to pay payroll. And I'm at the state talking to an attorney at the League of Cities saying, what do we do in this situation? What do I need to follow through with if this happens? You know, and by the way, I was the only council member that did that, you know, that went out to find out if we had to close the doors, what do we do? This is our job, not only as city council, but as supervisors. When something comes up that is told this is going to happen, you need to be researching it, and you need to be finding, if this does happen, especially if it's something devastating as closing down the city, what do we need to do? You know, and there are ways actually that you don't have to file bankruptcy, and most people don't know that. Right. You know, but you know, those are the things that need to happen, and you know what? Our board of supervisor was our district supervisor was not there helping on this situation, and that's where we should be. He made a statement at a meeting that the reason why we became a city was because we wanted to, have our own power. However, he said it not exactly that way, but that's what. But if we didn't want a representative at the county, we didn't want to continue to have the county help, why would we have a district representative? So, I mean, we definitely want the county's help. I don't believe that anybody in
gets very little help from the county.
Absolutely. We definitely do not get our fair share, by far. And when we do get something, it's normally because somebody's going and asking for it, not because our representative has come and asked us. We have to go and ask him.
And please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I heard that Mr. Smith, Supervisor Smith, at a meeting stated he was very proud because he brought in $800,000, something like that, into the county into the city of Clear Lake during his term of office.
I don't believe he's brought that into the city. He's voted on that at the county level, but I don't believe he's brought that into the city.
Well, you seem to, and I don't know how long he's served, but he's kind of very proud that he brought all that money in over X amount of time.
Oh, well, then I'm proud that I brought in over $6 million since 2008 just for our roads. That's just for our roads, So for the first time that Clear Lake has actually had our arterial roads all done at the same time, to me, that's an amazing thing because that was grants that we were lucky enough to be able to go after and fight for, and I had to put very little money for what we got out of that, and we're continuing to do that. I mean, we're continuing to fighting for more money, and I know we want to do the avenues now and work on that.
Right.
Well, I'm very happy to see that the council persons voted not in a majority, but at least a majority, I mean, not unanimously, but a majority voted to have some kind of a town hall meeting or a workshop to discuss the road taxes, and I hope the financial future of Clear Lake, because my feeling is just by cutting some fat here and there, they can come up with enough money for code enforcement at least, and then maybe have a tax for the roads that could take care of the roads, So I'm glad they're doing the workshop, and I'm glad they're going to be looking into
it. You know what's a shame, and this is because people say we're not transparent, and I mean, transparent means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but we do have these meetings in public. We do have budget workshops. And it's really a shame that people don't come to them.
That's true, yeah.
But what I've realized is maybe we need to make these things a little more accessible. And as a supervisor, I would take the city budget during budget time, and I would go probably more and have smaller meetings with people, say over at the senior places, have meetings in people's homes if they'd allow, put a little group together, and I'll come to your house and we can sit down and find out, because we all know that if you put enough heads together, it's amazing what you will find, because at the budget hearings that we have had people come, it's been amazing at some of the input that they had. We don't have stupid people in our county.
No,
we have very intelligent people, very intelligent people in the city, in the county. We have the access to so much technology out here, and we have the access to all these brains. We have some really, really professional people that have retired here, that are scientists, that are engineers, that have offered in the past to work with the city and stuff, and that was not taken advantage of.
Exactly.
And we need to make sure that's taken advantage of.
In defense of the public,
Absolutely.
and having been here in my whole 20 months tenure, I don't hear about these meetings. I don't.
Well, they are publicly announced.
Yeah, where?
In our
they have to legally,
publication
right.
and in other publications.
Now.
But they've always had to be. They've always had to be. They have to be advertised in the main communication news.
Right.
So they should be advertised everywhere. And of course, now we finally do have our website up and stuff. So of course, it will all be posted. And I encourage everybody to go to the city's website and check it out and get used to pulling things off and research and stuff. And if they have any ideas of how we can make it better, of course, there is a comment section, where they can email their opinions. And we're just getting started. We need all the opinions.
Does the county have budget workshops?
The county does have, just like the cities. They have public meetings on those. And it's hard for somebody just from the general public to come unless you have time to really sit down and go over these things. And of course, the county budget is a large budget and has many, many different departments. It does take time to do that. And it's funny because it's hard to put a budget together until now we're working on our budget now, and it legally has to be passed, supposedly supposed to be passed by June 30th.
Right.
So it doesn't give them a lot of time to go through every single department and itemize. That's why the public input in these things are extremely important.
And I know you can only speak for the city because that's where your experience is right now. When you start putting a budget together, obviously staff does the initial work or most of the work, and you go all review it and ask you questions. But do they take a ground zero approach, or they just look at last year's numbers and this put an inflationary increase and then any adjustments to it?
Well, per se for the city of Clear Lake, you realize that all we run on is tax money.
Right.
That's all we have. So basically what we have is the estimate of what happened last year, and is the economy getting better or worse? If the economy is getting worse, which we know that for us, with the state and the federal taking money away from us, our economy for funding is getting harder. And so they estimate how much they're going to lose by what we hear from the state and the federal government. So this year we're estimating, lower money coming in as far as for like our gas tax and stuff. That's called the HUDA tax. And hopefully with properties being sold, that our property taxes will be a little higher than they were last year. So, our hope is that maybe we can even out, if nothing else, but the same as last year.
If the revenues go down, what would be your approach to looking at the actual day-to-day costs and operational expenses and capital improvements? What would you look at to try to attempt to balance the budget then?
Well, we're down to the minimum staff. I mean, in City Hall, we have such a minimum, and we're very blessed to have a staff that is willing to do, everything and work together. So there's really not a whole lot we could cut in City Hall.
Security.
Right. Well, it is for them right now. But, nothing's ever secure. Anybody can be replaced. We all know that. I mean, that's not a thing. None of us should think that we're too good that we can't be replaced. But it's going to really have to be, and I know people think sometimes these are crazy, but I said sometimes we have to fine-tune little things such as supplies. Do we really need to buy a certain item? I mean, I don't care if it's $30. Do we really need to buy that? And, you start cutting out all that little stuff, and those $10, $20 add up to hundreds, and those hundreds add up to thousands. And
that's right.
And we have to start looking at equipment and what we do and don't have to use.
I know the city's been considering health insurance adjustments. And is there any plan to kind of do a cost comparison on the Affordable Care Act versus the system that they're using right now?
Now, I'm sure that will be definitely one of the discussions.
Isn't that on the agenda for this
that we'll be
meeting?
Discussing all of these different things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up for discussion. And
I would love to see how that comes out, if there would be any savings to the employees or the council people that need insurance, or if it's going to cost more, because I guess it's all based on your income, how you
and then some of the things that need to change at the city level, even though that's not what we're here for, but really the district is the city too, and that would be one of my concerns. Is it the public's job to pay for dependents? I don't. I think that's one of the questions that will come up. How much money is it the public's responsibility to pay for?
Well, that's where the Affordable Care Act would work, because if they're coming in at a lesser cost or a family plan, it doesn't cost the city, they can reimburse at a less cost than what they're reimbursing for or what they're paying for now.
Right. As a city council, I actually have brought this issue up a long time ago when we had past councils, and I always thought it was funny because one of the past councils left. One of her last statements was that you need to look at the insurance, and it's so funny because it had been brought up at least 3 times during her terms that she was there to change
conveniently,
but she didn't want it,
for it changed.
And that was always amazing to me that was like her last statement, and I'm like, oh my God, we've brought this several times. I had even said when we were getting ready to lay off people, I'll give up the $300. You guys give up the $300. That would help save somebody's even a part-time position.
Right.
They absolutely refused. I also brought up to reevaluate the insurance and stuff. They absolutely refused to change that. And
that's not right. They have to think about savings and not taking advantage of the public.
Some of the past council has gotten insurance, full insurance, when they could have been getting supplemental.
Right.
Exactly.
Some of them got insurance pay that they shouldn't have been getting. I mean, period, that they just shouldn't have been getting.
Yeah.
And, but one person, and see, this is what people don't realize. I can do nothing. This is my famous saying. I can do nothing, but we as a group can do anything we want if
Absolutely.
we work together. And that is the reason why I believe that there should be an office in City of Clear Lake for the supervisors, because
Yeah, I agree.
without that communication, me sitting up here, I can't, I may
Your
not be any.
constituents are not going to ride the bus to the courthouse,
Right.
you know.
I'm not going to
and
be any
go to
different
a
than any
meeting.
of the rest of them if I'm not having the contact with my community that
Right.
needs to happen at this county level.
Right.
You have got to make that happen.
Okay.
Right.
Let me ask you a tough question.
Bring it on.
Okay. It's not really a tough question. If it, be it city, county, state, federal level, if push came to shove in trying to balance the budget and you were absolutely sure that there's not one more penny you could squeeze out of it anywhere, would you agree to freeze the stepped up increases that employees get each year?
Absolutely. I mean, you would have to do that.
And why aren't we
would
doing
be-
that now?
That would be just
Yeah.
something. Well, I don't believe that they felt like that has been something that had to happen, because, you know, none of our employees, by the way, as far as our staff, has gotten any, you know, other raises than step raises.
Yeah, that's-
you know.
yeah, well-
You know,
Yeah, but step
for-
raises
Step-
can be
Step
significant.
is still an
and,
increase.
and,
Yeah.
and, you know, you're
And
right.
when I see
You're
city
absolutely
employees
right.
driving around in brand new,
Well, I'm
Vipers.
slightly used.
you know, it makes me wonder what kind of salaries they're making
Yeah.
to be able to afford cars like that and stuff. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, to me, a little unbalanced.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't get in their personal, you know,
No.
I really don't get into their personal stuff.
Right.
And you guys know what I drive. I drive an 86 Chevy Cavalier.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
called the Blues Clues car, and everybody
Right.
knows where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's like,
so
you know,
there's a little imbalance there that I'm seeing, and I think that the whole
But we don't-
salary should be
yeah.
reevaluated, really,
Right.
and benefits.
And
And,
that's
you know.
called what I've always called the 3-tier thing. You know, we have unions we have to deal with,
Right.
and that's one of the things. When you can't give them raises, everybody deserves raises over periods of times. We all know that. That's just, you know, that's your appreciation that they do hard work and stuff. There has been, you know, negotiations on when you're dealing with the union. It's hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and you know, you have to make compromises, and with us not ever being able to give raises over the last 8 years, I think it's been, you know, some of the compromises they have taken on, you know, paying more for say medical, and more into other things.
You know something?
And we did the
That's
steps.
the real world these days.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sorry, you know, I've been self-employed for the last 25 years. And that's a personal choice. So would I prosper or have the downs? That's my problem.
Yeah.
No one else's. But corporate layoffs are still occurring. People are still downsizing. And I'm sorry, when someone goes into public service, they're doing that because they want to serve the public, not to have a lifetime job with guaranteed increases every single year, no matter what their performance level may be. And that's what a stepped increase is.
Yeah, you're
And I
right.
totally disagree with that. It should be based on productivity and performance, not a guarantee because the union
Exactly.
says they need it because they've been here
I
too many
agree.
years.
But this is a
Yeah,
union
you won't-
state, so
yeah.
it's kind of hard to get around.
and that's true, and I totally agree. I have never got a raise that because I just was there. I never have gotten a raise just because I've been there for so many
Even
years.
with that stunning
you know?
personality?
Yes, even with the stunning
Gee.
personality. But the reality is this is how the unions work, and we are a union state.
Right.
We are not a right to work state.
I like Arizona. That's why I'm.
So you know, these are the things, and I don't think a lot of people realize that they did give up a lot of different things through the negotiation periods over the years, that most other public employees did get that our city employees did not get. You know, so it's unfortunately those type of negotiations are not so much out in the public because they're
I know.
private employee
Yeah.
things, but they did really give up a whole lot and did not take things, and I think we have a great staff and probably does deserve a lot more than what they're getting on the basis of they do so much with such a little staff that they really help each other work. And I mean, I think we have great people working for
So-
us.
Well, we've been dealing with the city recently on issues that we've had with our rental house and the tenants that are there, and I have to give them kudos. They have been trying to be on top of everything in spite of health issues and other things that were going on. But we feel like they're doing a good job in trying to keep things under
Right.
control
So-
over there.
And so and this is strictly a yes or no.
And we do have a caller waiting.
Okay. So in essence, though, when you're looking at the budgetary problems that are rising at any level, you're willing to look at any and all of the expenses to see what you can do, which will be best for the citizens, not necessarily staff or the elected officials.
Citizens always come first. Citizens should always come first when it comes to managing their money, because what we're doing is managing your money.
Right.
my money and everybody else's money. I'm just a representative, and I think that's where people don't realize they're the government. Don't blame the government, because you are the government.
That's right.
Step up, say something, be somebody, talk to your representatives, make them hear you, make them listen to you.
Right.
So.
You want to take the caller, Jim?
Absolutely.
Okie dokie. Then we get on to some of the issues.
Hello, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have a few questions for Ms. Overton,
Yes.
and I will take them off the air.
Okay.
So I have 3 or 4 questions. To Ms. Overton, one, I've been to countless meetings in Clear Lake over the last year, 2 years, and I've seen behavior on that council that's just appalling, and the bickering and the fighting and the child's behavior. Is this a way that a public figure would act, and is this how you would perform with the Board of Supervisors? And if you were to be elected on that Board of Supervisors, would you act in that forum in the way that Rob Brown acts, referring to his continuance as political prostitutes, carpetbaggers? And
I'm proud of being a carpetbagger.
Yeah, exactly. And then I have to ask you about Joey Lewis's behavior. And do you support that kind of behavior on sitting on that board with you, getting involved with Rob Brown, getting involved with their restraining order against the Sanders family, conflicts of interest, using his own Facebook account to bash citizens of Lake County, and his personal relationship is his own business, but his behavior on that board is just appallable, and I don't understand how anybody could work with somebody like that, or how he has not been recalled. And then thirdly, I would just like a detailed your position on the emergency ordinance, and what is your stance on Measure N and N for no on the Board of Supervisors referendum. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You got all that?
Well, we'll try that one.
Yeah, let's start. Okay.
Okay. First off, I know the meeting that she's referring to, and yes, we all know that got way carried away, and I was embarrassed. Just to be honest, I was embarrassed of that meeting. That was not the way it should have went, and it absolutely was not the way I asked it to be. In fact, when it came onto the agenda, I personally threw a little fit myself, so a little nicer, but stating that that's not what it was supposed to be. It was to talk about what our powers were as mayor. Unfortunately, when they checked out and we went through detailed on the meeting regarding it was Mr. Lewis, Councilmember Lewis's last remark to what to do about removing the mayor is what the consensus ended up being on. So, that was never my intent for that to happen.
Right.
Did get a little, got extremely carried away.
Totally
and,
out of hand, yeah.
As you guys all know, I voted no on the removal of the mayor. I did not think that was appropriate to do. To Joey's behavior, Joey is Joey, and that's not really something that I have any control of as a council. As a mayor, when I was mayor, I did ask him to please be appropriate, but he is his own person, and I that's not a council thing. What he does
but I
doesn't
think when
reflect.
he's
Do I
on the
support
dais,
that?
though, he represents the city, and therefore he should be under control.
He
to a
does,
certain
and when
respect.
she said recall, that's really up to the people to do. He is running for re-election, and if this is where I say, if people don't like what's happening, make the change. Take the chance. Make the change.
There's some good people
Yeah.
that are going to be
Let me
stepping up to
interject,
that position.
since it's the same subject. One of the things I've been looking at recently was the Board of Supervisors Code of Ethics and Conduct, and that was passed by Supervisor Rushing and, of all people, Supervisor Brown. And the response I got from Ms. Rushing was very clean and very clear and very precise, was that it is help me here, dear.
Self-police.
Policing, thank you. Whew.
Right.
Need more coffee.
Right.
Self-policing, and that only the chairperson of the board can actually start to say anything if somebody's getting out of hand. Is that the kind of the same thing at the city level, where unless you're the mayor, you can't really to ask a fellow council person to shut up?
Basically, it is the mayor. That's sitting in that seat isn't so easy. Sitting in any of those seats isn't so easy. But sitting as a mayor, where yes, we don't have any more power as mayor, as a council members. But you got to realize what we got to do. We got to watch all the council members. We got to watch all the people. We got to watch staff. We're trying to keep the meeting going. It's not as easy as what everybody thinks it is. Until you sit in that seat, you don't even realize how hard that is. But yes, the council, the mayor is the one that when somebody's acting inappropriately, basically should be the one that basically I call them down. Right. That doesn't always work. Right. So it just doesn't always work.
So I think what the caller was asking, though, at the county level,
am I going to do that?
If you're elected, I obviously know.
Or are you going to tolerate it?
You're going to tolerate it.
No. Well, I mean, you get to tolerate so much. I mean, that's what you can ask them to do certain things, but do we have control of somebody else's actions that we feel are inappropriate? It's really unfortunate that we don't. That's really up where the people did stand up and say things, and it's whether that supervisor or council member listens. That's not something that the rest of the board really has control over. You got to realize that there's 5 people up there, and we need to be working together the best we can. But that's where these recalls, that's what happens when people get recalled, is because there's people out there that don't feel what's happening is appropriate.
Yeah, doesn't mean recalls are easier said than done.
I said, but that, and that's unfortunate, and that's where the people need to be coming to the meetings on a regular basis then and do their public comment and try to hope that if it's a supervisor or a council member that they'll come and see that their behavior is not appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I think then the other question was regarding the measures. Where do you stand on the measures?
Yeah.
Measure Ann. Well, I think they're doing some work on that one. I don't think that's the measure for us.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that we don't need something in place.
Something,
and
but that's
firm
not the
believe,
right one. Yeah.
I think there definitely needs to be better communications with the community.
Sure.
I think that, everybody says, oh, Washington and Colorado. Well, I've looked at Colorado's, and it's, people, it's not like everybody can just grow.
No, it's actually a very tough
It's a very, very tough rule, even though they have put out how much they've made since, but they haven't put out how much it's cost them. So I'm real curious about that. I haven't got that information yet, but I will be. And then the other measure is Measure L on our lake. That's also one that I'm not completely happy with the way it's put up.
Yep, I agree.
But our lake needs help. I know people think, oh, there's more on the mussels and stuff, but I don't know if anybody's really researched that mussel thing and what it would be devastating to our county, being as a lot of our water's popped out of there. I think it's workable. So I support that one just because I think that we need to... We need something in place. I've read it over very carefully. I think they've worded it to where there's some maneuvering that we can work with on that to actually put other things maybe better in place. But we definitely need to do something with the lake. And I mean, like I said, I'm not all for taxes. In fact, I hate taxes. I'm just like every other citizen. I hate them. But this lake is our lifeline, and I think we need to make sure that something starts.
Okay, we've got 2 callers. Okay. Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, is that me?
Yep. That's you.
Hey,
can I have my eardrums back?
How are you all doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Hey, a couple of things that you guys have thrown about after giving my best wishes to the fine candidate you have on in the upcoming election. And the first one is term limits, which you guys mentioned. I absolutely agree with term limits, and that's on a state, federal, and, of course, our little local level. You guys may remember the name Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Thurmond, absolutely.
Yes, Mr. Thurmond. Strom Thurmond was rumored to be 197 years old. They said he actually died 10 years ago, and they just put a stick in the back of his shirt and propped him up in his seat and threw a sheet over him at night.
And that's probably true. I mean, we have judges that are 96 years old that are sitting on our Supreme Court. Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is. It just goes way too far. And there's nothing that is better than new blood, new ideas, new concepts. And when you take that idea and you put it into a county as small as Lake County, and you get this entrenchment that we all know about, that over the years keeps family and friends in office, it is no good for a county. It cannot work for a county.
Yeah. We're running out of a lot of time here. We have a lot of other stuff to go. Do you have a question for Joyce?
Yeah. First, the first question is on term limits, A, and second question is on public radio and TV, which, of course, we know from TV8 to KPFZ to all of them, we've had constant battles over who runs public radio, what's okay to put on, who has control of it, etc., and it is a major forum, obviously, in a county this small. When I was recently listening to Ron Green having Donnie Anderson on the radio, in a public forum, on public radio, we have an individual in Ron who's pushing the personal agenda, which is anti-Rivera because of his issues he has with him regarding MJ. But when I'm listening to the interview of Donnie, and in the background, when Sheriff Rivera calls in, I hear Ron say, cut him off, cut him off. I don't think that public radio is to be run that way, and I'd like the thoughts on the totality of public TV and radio we have in our county and how that should be run. And that's it.
We're going to let you take it off the air. Thank you.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think that is an absolute great question, because I don't know if most people out there know that when I got on the city council, one of the things is our PEG station was dormant, basically. We had the Board of Supervisors. We had some horrible classes that you couldn't even see or hear from the schools, and we had a bulletin board. I brought that committee. At that time, it was a committee underneath the city council. I brought that committee back and revived it, and eventually we turned into our own board where the city and the counties all have representatives on it. Then we have representatives from the public. As everything, public access, whether it's TV or radio, is always controversial. But I believe that what I'm working for right now is to try to get the station more available as far as our PEG station that we have that's located at the City Hall in Clear Lake. I would love to see. I was just saying that earlier on their show was as I was listening when I was coming over about the PEG station and the accessibility for the radio station to streamline onto PEG's TV. And there was some issues on that because we put in this fee on the Channel 8, and one of the things on that is that the reason why it is a fee is because nobody else can see that particular thing. So this is my view on that, is we need to find out if there is a thing where the radio station would like to streamline onto the PEG station. And is that a legal thing that we can still do because they're both on? And I'm going to look into finding out if audio, because we run, we can run audio as a radio station on our PEG TV. So it may be that instead of, like when the bulletin board is running, why is it that we can't have our local access channel running on that bulletin board?
Because the Mediacom wants their channel running on. That's the music that's on there now is Mediacom music from their music channel.
But that station doesn't belong to them. So I think those are things.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I think those are things that we can be having. This particular conversation, people who are watching Channel 8 would be hearing it. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would be nice.
Even if they're not, I know that you're streamlining this, but even if they weren't visually seeing it, they don't need to visually see it. But hearing it is a radio station. Let's put it on our station. I mean, I'm going to be looking into.
Well, I know Conrad's been advocating for that, and I think it's really good if we could do that. Personally, we'd like to also include the video portion as well, like we're doing here today. People can go back now and watch this broadcast after the fact, and we would put that on PEG, but there's been so many problems.
Well, I think after the fact, I think it would be right now the viewing part would be, but there's nothing that says that once this show's over, I mean, like the minute it's over, that if it was scheduled right, that it could not be immediately on.
Actually, they're saying no, because we have to have a statement signed by every candidate in your district saying that either they're going to be interviewed by us or elect not to.
That's because of the election rules.
Right, because the election rules. That's what they're saying. I don't agree with that.
Your program won't be seen on PEG. It'll only be seen on our website because we don't have every single candidate lined up yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting permission from anybody. I'm sorry. I just think that's ridiculous. So.
Well, I think if we come here and we're on your radio station, I think you're getting our permission. We're the ones that are making the statements.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why
you're
do I
asking
need
the questions.
They're already scheduled, so why do I need permission? That's the thing. And it's all these little technicalities that always seem to mess up things at PEG. They start thinking about too many things and make it too complicated. Every PEG station in the state of California is broadcasting their programming on the internet, and yet for some reason our PEG station
I think
can't.
what they're probably talking about, like you said, is the campaign issue. But the law states that if you invite one, you must invite the.
What they're not realizing is an invitation and a manifestation are two separate things. All they have to do is issue the invitation.
Right.
Whether the candidate takes advantage or not, that I remember distinctly with the sheriff election, in the last election, Sheriff Mitchell got upset because Mr. Rivero had so much airplay.
Right.
That wasn't Rivero's fault. I personally invited Mr. Mitchell to participate in an interview, and he turned it down. So,
and there is some problems, as every campaign, that this is happening. For one, we have a lot of candidates.
But now
you're the first one that has invited. You're the first one that has invited me to a show. The rest of them, I've heard their. I've seen some of their interviews. Haven't heard them all or anything, but I know they've been on the air, and I've never been invited to any of their shows. So thank you very much for being responsible to make this happen, because District 2 is always forgotten.
Right.
We are an important district, and I don't think people realize how important we are. We are the largest city in this lake. We have the most population.
Exactly.
And what happens in Clear Lake affects everybody in this county, and I just don't think that I don't think our district gets enough recognition on that basis, and that's the reason why I think you need a really good representative there on that basis, is because you've got to have somebody there fighting, not only at the county, but at the state, the federal, the cities, everywhere.
We got another caller. We're going to try to keep this moving. So, hello, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning. I'll make it quick. I just want to mention, something about KPFD I was reading where is on a mission to provide a voice for freedom and expression and cultural diversity in the community. And I just have to say, you're really losing me as a listener, because the last thing I want to hear about is politics. And,
well, unfortunately, a lot of people feel that this is very important, and there is no other way for people to get their viewpoints out. So we have to do this.
Yeah, but politics is politics, and that's just my opinion.
Well, we're not discussing politics. We're actually discussing a candidate's views and what they are going to offer to our community. And I don't consider that politics. I think that's something that the community needs to understand if they're going to elect for somebody.
But we thank you for that viewpoint.
Okay.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
And
hello, you're on the air?
It's things like that make me sad.
Hello? Are you there?
Yes.
Hello.
I actually had a couple more questions for Ms. Overton. You live in Middletown?
Oh, no, I live in Clear Lake.
Your Facebook page says you live in Middletown. You need to change that.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to ask you, if you're living in Middletown, why are you running in District 2?
No, I wonder where people were getting that. I don't know how that happened.
It's on your Facebook page.
Okay, I'll have that changed. I didn't know that was his,
I just noticed that today.
And secondly, the last caller, this is great. We have no social media to get word out of what's going on around Lake County, so thank you for KPFC and the show. Yes. But one more question from Ms. Overton. I asked Jeff Smith the same question at the Democratic Party. I asked him if he has been in Clear Lake and really, really in-depth, since that's his area, in-depth behind Safeway in Clear Lake Park, addressing the homeless issues. And he basically danced around my questions and said that the Clear Lake has to take a big responsibility in that as well. Have you gone into the trenches and gotten your feet wet and dirty and muddy and been through Clear Lake Park and the avenues and seen the filth, the mattresses, the dead cats and dead dogs that are laying on 8th Street and 9th Street, the empty lots full of trash? And if so, what's your stance on that, and what are you going to do about it? I mean, it's horrific. You see children out there with no clothes on and no shoes and the filth. I'm just beyond words. And so if that's your area, what are you going to do about it? And are you going to incorporate a homeless shelter and get in there and say, yes, I support the city of Clear Lake. I am going to see what's going around me. I know there's a population that lives behind McDonald's.
Okay, we need to move on.
We really need to move, but thank you. She'll answer your question off the air.
Okay, let me try to answer this really quick because that is a passion of mine, by the way. I do a program called Warm for the Winter every year. Been doing it for 6 years. It actually started on, I came to advertise I needed help because I had put a homeless coalition together of all of the pastors in Lake County. All the churches, I thought they would come aboard because I had been buying shoes and coats and stuff for those people that are behind Safeways and Rays and stuff, trying to help them get them into schools, trying to do whatever I could to help them. But unfortunately, I got to the point where I just couldn't afford to do it by myself. Couldn't get them all on board. I got a couple of them on board right there in Clear Lake. In fact, they were the ones that really stepped up, and that the Calvary Church and the Presbyterian Church stepped up. The Calvary Church did the warming center during the daytime and served chocolate and coffee and fed them. And then the Presbyterian Church, which at the time was Carl, was the pastor there, who allowed them to sleep. So we worked with them. The two churches worked together very well. Unfortunately, Carl left, and haven't been able to make that connection. I am working right now, on trying to find housing. It's not that we necessarily need a homeless shelter, which we need something, but I'd like to find it where these people get some help. So it's not just a shelter.
Right. There's got to be a comprehensive
transitional
approach.
housing. I love to call it, whether it's a place where they all come and sleep, but that there's other access, and we try to help them get where they need to go. If they have a drug problem, let's get them help. If they have an alcohol problem, let's get them help.
That's what I've been saying about the whole warming shelter
let's get them into housing.
Feeding them. We're not doing anything to help them.
We need to get them off the streets. We need to help them. So yes, I am working right now. I've been talking to Habitats for Humanities. I'm talking to the VA. I am with the Community Care. That was a program that I tried to bring under the Lake County Community Action Agency.
Because we're running out of time, I do want to mention that you have been instrumental in building the youth center in Clear Lake. There is going to be a fundraiser on Saturday night, May 3rd, at 6:30 p.m. It's called the Murder Mystery Dinner. This will be a benefit both for the youth center and for PEG.
Yes.
And the name of the mystery is Next of Kin, and that's going to be held at the youth center at 4750 Gulf Avenue. So we appreciate that, and we want to encourage everyone to go on out there. You can call 944-KIDS to reserve your seat. And we also want to remind everybody to please remember that the opinions expressed on this or any other KPFC program are the opinions of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of KPFC LCCR, its staffs, members, or supporters. These are opinions and views of the speakers only. And I have to apologize to the people that are on the line. I mean, we just don't have any... You should have
had me 2 hours ago.
I had no idea.
Hey,
so
I'll tell you
what we'll do real quickly is when the primary finished in June, whoever's left standing will come back on. So hopefully you'll be there.
Well, believe it or not, no matter what happens, I'm still on council for the next 2 years.
There you go.
So I'm still, and even if I wasn't, either way, I am a community person. I've always been a community person. Being on council or supervisor's never been necessarily kept me from working with my community.
Right.
But if anybody wants to talk to me and they didn't get to talk to me today,
please give your contact.
I'm always interested in the people's views, good or bad. We need to know. I am great with good criticism, so don't feel bad to say, hey, I don't think you do this right or whatever. I think that is how we better ourselves. I like to take a piece of everybody with me. My phone number is 350-2898. My email address is just my last name, Overton, @hotmail.com. You can Facebook me. I don't do a lot of Facebooking, but I'm trying to get better at that because that seems to be the communication here, and so we got to get connected. And I'm going to be having an office right there by the other radio station in Clear Lake, and so we'll be opening up that within the next probably week. So I'll be down there working.
K-Mob Studios,
I'll be down there working. People can come down and talk to me.
Any kickoff parties or anything like that?
Well, we'll be having probably around the second week of April. We'll be having a get together there, but people can come by and stuff. And I'm in the supporter of the people, not necessarily endorsements from anybody else, but I want the endorsements of the people.
Okay, and you have two callers on hold here. Would you be willing to talk to them off the air?
Absolutely.
Okay, so callers, please hold on, and we'll make sure that they get through to you. You have something else to say?
Nope.
Okay.
Never.
So we want to thank everyone for joining us. This is Lake County Magazine. You can find us on Facebook. We thank you for being a part of our show. It's Lake County Magazine radio show, and we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you all next Wednesday, 9 o'clock, same time, same channel. And next week, our guest will be one of the sheriff's candidates. We are waiting for a confirmation back, but we will let you know who that's going to be when we get it confirmed, okay? Thank you very much, and we appreciate, Joyce, for you being here, and hopefully we'll see you back again after June.
Thank you. I
right.
appreciate KPFZ for always being here.
Thank you very much. All right, you're listening to KPFZ 88.1 FM in beautiful downtown Lakeport, and we'll see you all next week. Peace out.